The past is comfortable. The present is even more comfortable. And the future, always uncomfortable. Welcome to the world of instruments in the age of AI. Every era of music, my friends, has had a breakthrough that changed everything. And we are at a breaking point in this current age. Let's go back in time and talk about the printing press. What did it give us? Sheet music. What about electricity? It gave us amplification. Magnetic tape gave us multi-track recording. And the digital revolution gave us synthesizers, samplers, and sequencers. But today, we're staring at something even more radical. For the very first time in human history, music is no longer limited to the instrument in your hands or the gear in your studio. We can type a few words or speak a few short phrases, and music appears out of thin air. This is even wilder than plugins, wilder than VSTs, wilder than DAWs. You thought Pro Tools was a disruptor? Well, you wait for this. Think about this for a second. For centuries, people wanted music. And if they wanted music, they needed someone to play it. They needed to pay someone to play at the king's court. Then came mechanical devices, like the player, piano, gramophones, and jukeboxes. And then digital services like the arranger keyboard or the DJ's turntable. I learned on an arranger keyboard. But even then, there was always a human behind the wheel, programming, sequencing, playing the fingered chords, or digging in crates. But now, now AI has removed that delay. It actually sounds scary that in a few seconds, in a few moments, your greatest imagination of music can be birthed. AI has removed the delay. Music creation has become instant. It's even quicker than a microwave. And that changes everything. It changes how we practice, it changes how we perform, how we compose, and even how we imagine instruments. We're moving into an age where the instrument is no longer just wood and strings, keys or circuits. It's prompts, it's algorithms, and infinite possibilities. And when I talk about prompts, I'm talking about textual prompts and even audio prompts. Isn't that mind-blowing? The question now is, how will we as musicians respond? Will we bury our heads in the sand? Will we continue denying that this transformation is not taking place before our very eyes? It will be unwise to keep discrediting the outputs of AI as mere slop and no threat. It is a threat to our unity. It is a threat to our leadership in music. And it is a threat to the livelihood of many who refuse to pivot. Now let's take a look back. If I was going to write a book about this will be chapter 2. It will be a look back at the arranger keyboard. So let's rewind. Let's go way back into the 80s. Long before Suno or Udio, long before cloud servers could spit out a backing track, musicians craved accompaniment, and that's why the arranger keyboard was born. At first, these machines were laughably simple. I remember the Casio Veltone and the earlier Yamahas. You press a button and you'll hear a very stiff robotic drum beat, just like a marching beat. You add another button and maybe a very weak bass line would follow. It was mechanical, predictable, and frankly, cheese and corn together. The kind of thing lounge players or wedding bands used to fill space. Musicians sneered at them. That's not real playing, that's a toy. But technology rarely stays static. By the 1980s and 90s, companies like Yamaha, Roland, and Korg turned these toys into powerhouses. Suddenly, an arranger keyboard could give you dozens, even hundreds of styles: rock, swing, Latin, R&B. You could call up a bossa nova and with a single button transpose it to any key and sound like a full-on band with just two hands. For solo performers, it was revolutionary. A player in a small bar could sound like a quartet. A church pianist could cover an entire service with drums, bass, and pads backing them and adapting to the songs that were called out. The arranger became an industry. Yamaha PSRs, Roland E-Series, remember the Korg I-Series? I love that one. Whole genres of music were kept alive by these machines, and in recent times we found the extremely exorbitant keyboards such as the Genos 2 and the Korg PA5X take center stage. But let's be honest, arranger keyboards? They still required compromise back in those days. You were limited to the pre-programmed styles inside the box, and if you wanted something unique, you had to hack it or spend hours programming custom sequences or go between DAW keyboard, mixer, DAW keyboard. And it was convenient for some time, but it was not infinite, especially back in those days before Pro Tools. You'd rely on a Tascam or something else like a reel-to-reel. Now, while it was good, it wasn't there. It was automation, but with boundaries. In a way, arranger keyboards were the first whisper of what AI is doing now, providing instant accompaniment, except back then the styles were frozen. Today the styles are limitless. And arranger keyboards were great, but they were not the ultimate. Then came the workstation era. The Korg M1 in 1988, about a year after I started learning, the Yamaha Motif, the Roland Phantom, these weren't just keyboards, they were full studios in a single unit. For the first time, a musician could compose, arrange, and record entire songs without leaving their keyboard. No need to go to the studio, no need to bring out a reel-to-reel, no need to bring out a Tascam or anything like that. You had sequencers that let you stack track upon track. 8 tracks first, then 16, drums, bass, pads, leads, strings, and if you were patient, you could build entire symphonies, film scores, or pop productions entirely in box. When I first started out like this, I made thousands and thousands of dollars just sequencing for people's full-on albums. In bedrooms around the world, musicians hunched over glowing LCD screens, painstakingly programming beats, quantizing notes, and copying and pasting phrases. One of my buddies asked me in the mid-90s, "Can you produce our band?" And what was at the center? It was the O1W from Korg. This was the workstation revolution. It was powerful. It was liberating. But it was also slow, my friends. Ask anyone who lived in that era. It could take you a full hour to just program a 4-minute track. And that was because you'd have to stack 4 minutes of playing one instrument from start to finish and then another. And you had to think like a programmer and a musician at the same time. Menu diving, step editing, managing MIDI channels, and you find it was so laborious, but it was worth it. The results were world class, but the cost was time, hours of time. That was the trade-off. Incredible power, but incredible patience needed. Not to mention the floppy disks that if they were exposed to a wrong magnetic field, there would be curtains for your entire production. But fast forward to today, and we see the contrast. Suno gives you what a Motif or Trident sequencer might have taken hours to build. In 10 seconds. That's when it begins showing you what it's rendering. But the workstation, it demanded your labor. AI, it demands only your words. And that is the leap we're living through. And when I say AI demands only your words, I'm talking about really well-crafted words to get great output. But still, talk is cheap. A lot cheaper than time and resources to rent studios and gear. Now, let's shift gears and talk about keyboards of the future. Keyboards have always been the laboratory of invention. Think about it. The piano was one of the most advanced machines of the 18th century. Thousands of moving parts, balanced hammers, precision strings. When I visited Steinway, my mind was blown when I saw the detail and the rigor in building one of those things. Then came the electric piano, the Rose, the Wurlitzer, the clavinet, warm and soulful, portable. and then the synth exploded onto the scene in the 70s, forever changing what a keyboard could be. Moogs, Prophets, Junos. These weren't just instruments, they were sound factories, and by the late 80s and 90s, keyboards became workstations. The M1, the Yamaha Motif, the Roland Phantom, machines that could record, sequence, and produce entire albums that I just mentioned. And then the arrangers. But here's the truth. Every generation of keyboards has been about one thing. Think about it. It's faster access to more robust, convincing, realistic sounds. And that's exactly where AI pushes the story next. Imagine the keyboard of tomorrow, my friends. Think about it. No banks of preset styles. No. The same way Steve Jobs redefined the phone and redefined the interface is the same way the world of AI is subtly redefining the interface of tomorrow's keyboard. No banks of preset styles. What's that? No scrolling through menus of R&B 1 or Jazz Waltz 3. Instead, a small screen or mic input. All built in, right there onto the body of the keyboard. That's what I see in the future. I see industries coming up with innovative ways to help people access whatever they want with a prompt. Imagine a command. I want a custom band of X, Y, and Z variables, and it will back you in real time. It will listen to what you're playing, it will see what you're playing, and it will accompany you. Or maybe you want something modern. Give me a lo-fi chill hop groove, 70 beats per minute, in the style of a rainy coffee shop. You see, the keyboard of the future is going to generate not just one, not just two, not just three, not just four, but endless variations. Today's arranger keyboard gives you 4, A, B, C, and D, and it gives you a break and an ending and a fill and an intro. But I tell you, the arranger keyboard of the future, it's going to give you an entire custom backing band that will morph and change and react to the notes that you play. The old idea of 300 built-in styles, it becomes laughable. The new idea, infinite. No two performances ever alike because every prompt is unique. The keyboard stops being a finite box and it becomes a living portal into endless soundscapes. Mark my words, because this will happen. Yamaha, Korg, Roland, the big three. I'll be surprised if I don't begin to see keyboards like this in the next couple of years max. Arranger keyboards had a good run, but the AI keyboard, that's the future. Now let's shift gears here and talk about electric guitars and AI backing. The electric guitar has been the voice of rebellion for decades, from Hendrix wah-wahs to Eddie Van Halen's tapping to Tom Morello's bending physics itself. The guitar has always been about pushing the limits of sound. Traditionally, guitarists needed a band, drums, bass, maybe keys, to really shine. If you wanted to jam alone, you had to rely on backing tracks, loop pedals, or jam tracks burned onto CDs. But in the future, it's going to be a lot easier to sound good. Picture plugging your guitar into an amp with AI baked into that amp. You strum a chord and the amp listens. You're saying to the mic, give me a funky R&B groove in A minor, 100 BPM. Instantly, bass, drums, and keys come alive around you, perfectly locked into your tempo and in surround or stereo. You solo like a wild beast unleashed, and the AI reacts, adding fills when you pause, softening when you quiet down. Can you imagine and see the future, my friends, just like I'm telling you right now? Because I can. I see those pedals, the boss pedals that you all love. Those have got to evolve as well. And instead of just chorus, delay, reverb, imagine a band pedal. Step on it and it generates a responsive rhythm section tailored to your playing. The lone guitarist in a bedroom suddenly has a full stage. The garage player becomes a one-man festival. And like everything with AI, no two backends are ever the same. Or perhaps there could be a button to help you capture that specific performance. Each jam session feels alive and fresh, unrepeatable. The guitar stays the star, but AI becomes the loyal bandmates. Remember those bandmates you had to pay $500 a piece? Well, in the future, you might just save yourself $2,000. The loyal bandmate that never shows up late to rehearsal, that's going to be the future. That's going to be your AI accompaniment as a guitarist. Now, for those who are like me and love the Keytar, I've got a Readiness Edge, and the Keytar was always about flair. The shoulder sling keyboard, part guitar, part synth. You know what I'm talking about. All attitude. Prince made it popular. Herbie did as well. Herbie Hancock, Jan Hammer. They walked from behind the keys and they commanded the stage. And I've really been enjoying my Keytar, the Readiness Edge. But imagine the future Keytar. As I've demonstrated on this channel, my Keytar right now lets me do quite a mean vocoder with it. But even amping that up, my friends, in the future, the Keytar of the future, it won't just control synth patches, it will control entire worlds. And with a single button, you cue a backing band. With a short voice prompt, you change the groove mid-song. Switch to Latin fusion. Boom! The AI backing pivots in real time while you solo like a wild animal over it. And suddenly, the Keytar isn't just a showman. They're a band leader, they're a conductor, they're a producer, all rolled up in one. And I'm so excited to see that come to fruition, because I love to jam on my Keytar. But still, I have to give prompts into the AI, my phone, and send it through Bluetooth. But in the future, it's all going to be integrated. Think about it. Every time you perform on your Keytar, you get something new. The future Keytar, it isn't just a gimmick, it's a command center. One of the tools that I bought midway into my career was the EWI, the electronic wind instrument. Now, wind controllers and electronic brass woodwinds, they always have a special intimacy. The breath, the phrasing, the human soul pouring out through reed, brass, or mouthpiece. And EWIs, the good ones, were able to capture that. I have a Yamaha EWI. Now, in the electronic age, when we saw the WX7, which is the one I've got, or the Akai EWI, these let players trigger synth and samplers or MIDI sounds using breath control, but even then, you still needed pre-made patches or backing tracks. But, my friends, imagine the future. A sax player with an AI-linked wind controller, they play a riff and the AI instantly builds harmonies underneath. They improvise and the AI band follows, laying down drums, bass, and comping in perfect sync. Or they press a button and say, give me a modal jazz backdrop, 120, 140 BPM, thereabouts, and the AI creates it, customized for that moment, that solo. And think about it, even for those who play a real sax, there will be interfaces, human to AI. That's the future that I see. The line between player and band disappears. The wind player doesn't just play over a backing track. They play with a living, responsive AI ensemble. Whether you are a trumpeter or you are a woodwind player, whatever you play, whether you're brass or woodwinds, the future will be redefined by AI. Now let's talk about the DJs. DJs have always lived at the intersection of technology and taste. From turntables to CDJs, Serato crates to USB sticks. It's always been about control, right? Control over playback, blending the vibe. But AI flips that. Instead of digging crates for tracks, DJs will dig prompts. On the fly, give me a deep house groove, warm pads, minimal vocals, and the AI is going to generate that track, mastered, dance ready. Then the DJ tweaks, layers, and blends. Mixers will follow suit. Imagine a Pioneer DJ amp with a new button, generate. You select the genre, you select the energy, the key, and out comes a brand new track in sync with your current mix. No more relying on only existing music libraries. The mixer itself becomes a co-producer. The art of DJing, it shifts from selecting tracks to steering infinite tracks. DJs become curators of possibility, not just custodians of crates. And what about the audience? They'll never hear the same set twice. Now, I've always loved amplifiers because they're one of the most straightforward pieces of gear in music. You take the quiet sound of a guitar and make it loud enough to shake an arena. That was the whole job. But the amplifiers evolved. They gained tone shaping, distortion, built-in effects, modeling, and even Bluetooth connectivity. The amp stopped being just a megaphone and became an instrument itself. Now imagine the AI-powered amplifier. You plug in your guitar, your bass, or even your keyboard, and instead of just amplifying, the amp creates a simple voice command into a built-in mic. Generate a blues shuffle or generate a bebop track. Suddenly your amp is not just a speaker, it's a rhythm section, it's a producer, it's a bandmate. So picture practicing at home with no backing tracks, no loops, no pedals, no downloaded MIDI files. Your amp listens, understands, and plays back with you. Imagine a rehearsal where the amp fills in for the drummer who couldn't make it. Imagine a gig where the amp senses your energy, adding fills, breakdowns, or even triggering light shows synced to your music. Just like Moises has demonstrated, you can play an instrument and have AI create a backup on the fly. The humble amp, it's about to become the most intelligent piece of your rig, my friends. And not to mention mixers and live sound gear. Mixers have always been the control towers of music. Live music from giant analog consoles to sleek digital desks. Their purpose has been the same: balance the sound, add effects, keep the band clear and powerful. But the mixer of tomorrow, it won't just balance. It will balance without a human in the loop, by listening in and automatically and dynamically assigning levels, panning, and effects. In addition to this, I see the mixer of tomorrow also generated. Picture a sound engineer walking into a venue and plugging in the mixer and saying, "Give me a lo-fi jazz lounge track at low volume," while the audience enters. The mixer creates it on the spot. Or during a wedding, a DJ hits a button on the mixer, soft dramatic ballad, instrumental only, and out comes a fresh track, perfectly filling the moment. No licensing fees, no playlist required. And when the band shows up, the mixer becomes collaborative. AI listens to the set, and it could suggest subtle layers, string swelling here, percussion filling here, all generated live to support the musicians on stage. Mixers stop being passive boards or faders, and they become active collaborators. What about the jukebox? Remember that? Once upon a time, the jukebox was magic. You drop a coin, you pick a track, and the room was filled with music. But streaming killed the jukebox. Why would you need one when everyone has an infinite jukebox in their pocket? Now imagine the AI jukebox of the future, because I want to wager that jukeboxes will return. Not just a playlist machine, but a generator. A neon lit box in the corner of a cafe where anyone can type or speak, "Give me a 90s hip hop groove," or play a mellow acoustic ballad for a rainy day, and the jukebox creates a new track unique to that moment. And because it's connected, cafes and bars could subscribe to AI stations, jazz brunch on Sundays, ambient beats for weekday mornings, fiery Latin on Friday nights. I've demonstrated this with our radio station. AI Connect Radio plays 24/7 on YouTube, and you should check it out. What about curated AI stations just like AI Connect Radio? Well, this is where curated AI stations will rise, just like mine. Just as Spotify playlists rule today, tomorrow's world will have AI-powered stations guided by human tastemakers. Just as I have demonstrated on this channel, AI will flood us with music, but humans will still determine which sounds cut through. And that's the future of radio, playlists, and streaming. Not just passive libraries, but living, breathing AI stations, each with a human mind steering them. And finally, my friends, the closing vision. As opposed to burying our heads in the sand and saying, AI is evil, AI should not change us anymore, it's about time we understand what the future could present, and we build and develop strong AI ethics and laws to be able to deal with these. Every instrument, keyboards, guitars, Keytars, wind controllers, amps, mixers, jukeboxes, and more will be touched by AI. Mark my words, the categories of yesterday's gear, rock kit, R&B groove, Latin beat, all that stuff, that's going to dissolve into infinite prompts. The era of finite presets will die. And yet, musicians are not being erased. Just as loops didn't kill drummers and samplers sure didn't kill bands, AI, in the same token, will not kill artistry. It will change it. The new skill is not just playing an instrument, but prompting, curating, and shaping infinite possibilities into something meaningful. It's always comedic when I see people fighting for what they will not be here in 100 years from now to keep defending. You must allow time to take its course, to change the tide and the direction of music and technology. Arranger keyboards walked so Suno could run. Sequencers, they crawled so AI could sprint. The jukebox spun so AI stations can stream. The future is not about the death of music. Stop saying that. It's about its rebirth in forms that our grandparents could never have imagined and our children will take for granted. The question is not, will AI replace musicians? Will AI take my job? No. The question is, are we ready to become the new kind of musician that AI demands? Are we ready to play AI? Are we ready to be a master prompt engineer? Because make no mistake, the future is not coming. It's here. And it's not just in your studio. It will be in your keyboard, in your guitar, in your amp, in your DJ deck, in your mixer, and even your jukebox. The age of AI instruments is here, and it's waiting for us to play.